Hello, welcome to my channel, Seed Infinity. So in this video, just want to do a quick little reading from my handmade oracle deck. So if this reading has found you, then I trust that it is for you. However, as always with timeless collective readings, take what resonates, leave what doesn't, and use your own discernment. Okay, and on the little pre-shuffle I did, this card did come out on the top, and it seems quite resonant as well, considering the last reading I just did was talking about, you know, coming into union, you know, with yourself, or just, you know, reality itself, or what have you. You know, so now for a union card to come out, it seems like that's the message or the energy of the day in a way. So that seems resonant, that's coming through now, wants to be more focused on in this reading. Alright, so let's see what else wants to come out here. Alright, Spirit, God, angels, archangels, ascended masters, unicorns, fairies, dragons. What messages of guidance do you have for the collective? Thank you, thank you, thank you. God, Spirit, Source, Mother Gaia, angels, archangels, ascended masters. What messages of guidance wish to come out for the collective? Alright, these three popped out, so we might take these three, and then we'll see if anything else wishes to pop on through. Let's see if, say, like one or two more want to come out. Any more messages for the collective here? I feel like that one it was about to fall out, and then my hand caught it. So, and let's see if maybe one more wants to come out. Oh, that one seems to want to. All right, let's take those ones. I noticed on the top of the deck as well, this card was standing out to me, and I felt called to grab that too. So we'll do that. We'll trust that little nudge. Okay. So we've got twin flame, divine counterpart, the Morrigan, reality glitch, integration, Horus, Mother Earth, and Andromedan. I noticed as well when I looked up on the clock, 321. So that's another great little sign for, you know, coming into union, or coming into a sense of completion in an aspect. So 321 might be a number that you're seeing at the moment, or will see as another little sign or synchronicity for yourself for this message here today. Alright, so let's start with the first card, Twin Flame Divine Counterpart. So we've got Cosmic Chemistry, Mirror Magic, Soul Sparks, Union, Growth Catalyst, Inner Alignment, Sacred Reflection. Then we have a Divine Counterpart, shows you where you are aligned and where you are not. This connection reflects you, not to complete you, but to reveal you. What's activated here is meant to be integrated, not chased. This isn't about finding the one, it's about becoming whole and finding yourself. Divine union allows you to give and receive the love you have created within. And then we have a little, if you know, you know, sort of note here. You know, if you are on a sort of twin flame or divine counterpart, inner and outer union type journey, you know, then you'll know if you know what that can sort of be about and entail, and those sort of, you know, energetic occurrences and what have you. So I feel like, this card is coming out to say that you are not only coming into union with yourself, but could also, with that inner alignment, but could also be coming into union with a twin flame or a divine counterpart, however that resonates for you. That can show up in a different array of aspects and pairings and matchings or what have you. You can still have a divine counterpart that's not necessarily a twin flame in the traditional sense, or you can have either or, both, however it kind of aligns and is resonating for you and your journey. We're infinite and eternal souls, and so that sort of mirroring aspect that can happen with twin flames and divine counterparts. We can be mirrored in numerous and infinite ways, and so you can have your different sort of energies that align, in a way as being a divine counterpart to, sort of mirror those aspects that are relevant for you along on your journey, depending, what part of your soul and infinite energetic self is being mirrored at that time, and then how that aligns to another, person's and soul's energy as well. And although the mirror magic here is, more referring to, the mirror magic of two souls or two beings mirroring each other in a way that brings about that magic that can unfold on such journeys. But I also feel called to mention as well that just some general mirror magic might be useful or powerful for you at this time, working with your own reflection in the mirror, making eye contact with yourself in the mirror, speaking things into existence through the mirror, really enhancing your own self-affirmations through a mirror to make that process more powerful for yourself. And as you kind of, get more connected to yourself and loving yourself in all those wonderful ways, could also be, really, really helpful for you on this part of your journey as well. Which really also aligns well with the sacred reflection note as well, and how a divine counterpart or twin flame can be such a sacred reflection in a way of ourselves, to allow ourselves to get even more in touch with who and what we are, and being able to appreciate and encompass and express that in so many beautiful and wonderful ways, and also witnessing it being encompassed and expressed in another being in wonderful and beautiful and magical ways. And so not only really appreciating your own beautiful reflection, but also the reflection of of yourself and that inner connectedness of oneness through other beings as well. I feel like a great little sign that, you could be coming into union soon with a divine counterpart as a wonderful way to, not to complete you, but to reveal you, to reveal more of yourself and that greater self of, being connected to infinite source energy in that way that can show you so much more about yourself and the wonderful sort of world and reality we live in, but also allowing you to give and receive the love you have created within as well, all that beautiful inner union journey work that you've done for yourself, and all that love you've fostered and fortified within yourself for yourself, allowing that to be expressed with a divine counterpart, kind of that sort of holy Trinity aspect of the divine feminine and masculine aspects of source energy itself being expressed into two people who are able to mirror and reflect those energies to each other in a loving union and partnership, in a way that they're able to give and receive that beautiful source love energy, that divine energy and love of God being able to come through and be expressed and unionized between two people and two souls in a way that creates that sort of circuit of oneness to be able to not just be experienced within, but also outside of yourself in a beautiful and harmonious way as well, which is so wonderful. It's so lovely to be able to have that, wonderful inner union type journey, and where we, experience and embody that beautiful, wonderful, relationship and experience of love with, source energy and spirit and God, or however you like to look at it and define it. But being able to have that experience and journey with yourself, is so beautiful and wonderful, and, interacting with that energy in a way with spirit and source energy around you, but then also being able to embody that into a union with another physical being, where you're actually able to experience that sort of, energy and union type relationship with source energy, with God, through another person as well, that you're able to enhance all that magic through physical experiences as well, with a physical relationship. Almost in a beautiful way of, the way that source energy or God is able to then, love you through another person, and is able to love that person through you as well. Spirit can't give you a physical, a physical hug, or, engage in certain levels of physical intimacy or what have you, through that sort of more inner union spirit type journey. But when you have that unionized into a divine counterpart, it kind of allows that beautiful, loving, divine source God energy to be expressed and experienced in physical form. Almost like allowing yourself to be loved by God through another person, which is, so beautiful and so wonderful. All right, and then we'll move to the next card here, the Morrigan. So sovereign becoming, transformation, fierce clarity, death of the false, truth at the threshold. Claim your power without asking permission. What falls away was never truly yours. Transformation requires honesty, not force. Stop negotiating with what drains you. Stand where you are, undeniably yourself. I feel like a great and wonderful and powerful card to come out, especially after this sort of, twin flame divine counterpart type energy of also, not forgetting your own sovereign power and becoming and transformation. As part of this sort of, inner journey, you do need to, release the old and release the false self and come into your own sovereign power. But, knowing that you can still stand in your own sovereign power and claim your power without asking permission. You don't need to be coming into a union with another being first. And once you are in union with another being, you don't need to let this part of yourself fall away. You're meant to be allowing that sort of transformation to be emboldened and empowered even further, so that you become even more of yourself through such a union and not less of yourself. Allowing those sort of energies and aspects to fall away, and not, negotiating with what drains you, not participating with those sort of energies that kind of hold you back or draw your energy out, and instead, following and stepping into what empowers you and emboldens you and allows you to be yourself wholly and completely, whether you are with, another person or not, in a sort of, union type partnership here. And when, if you do come into a union, not allowing that to stop you from claiming your power still, and to still being yourself wholly and completely, and not being afraid to do so, because knowing that doing so only empowers more so, and enhances and magnetizes even more so all those sort of energies that are aligned to you, and anything that falls away was never aligned in the first place, and that's okay. Not allowing that to dissuade you at all from being who you are and staying true to who you are and feeling empowered within that, and making sure that any sort of union or relationship that you enter into really fortifies that for yourself and emboldens you and empowers you, so that you can continue to grow and blossom into the wonderful and amazing and magical and miraculous, sovereign and powerful being that you are. So having that fierce clarity in that sense with yourself when you go through these sort of continual transformations, really allowing those false aspects of yourself and things that do not align to you to fall away, and allowing yourself to become empowered by what does align for you. Alright, then we have reality glitch, timeline hiccups, deja vu, awareness shift, perception change, synchronicity, cosmic wink. This isn't random, it's reflective. Stay curious, not alarmed. When things feel strange, don't rush to explain it away. Wonder opens doors that certainty closes. Notice what you were thinking or feeling when the glitch appeared. Pause and notice what's being revealed. Reality enjoys surprising, attentive players. So you might be about to experience a reality glitch, or have recently experienced a bit of a reality glitch, where things can seem a little bit bizarre or strange or what have you, like a little glitch in the matrix type moment. Not being alarmed at all if anything like that does happen, any little hiccups in the timeline or what have you, and seeing it more as like a little cosmic wink and a little synchronicity for you from the universe. And as it mentioned, really pausing and noticing what's being revealed to you through that moment. What is it, teaching or showing you? So don't try to explain it away through logic or what have you, and really allowing yourself to fall into the strangeness of it all in a fun and playful way. And knowing that curiosity will keep it more fun and exciting for you in that aspect, and knowing that it's reflective, particularly here with this sort of mirroring twin flame divine counterpart energy as well, knowing that that sort of glitch is just reflecting the sort of energies going on within yourself as well, kind of showing you that you are ascending or evolving to greater expanded horizons of consciousness, that can then that energy going on within you and expanding and enveloping in those sort of ways within yourself can occur, help little reality glitches occur in the reality around you as well. So knowing it's, reflective of your journey and process here. So it's not just a random strange moment, as strange as it could feel or maybe appear, and knowing that it is showing something to you about the reality around you and about yourself as well. And having fun with it in that way, and knowing that reality enjoys surprising, attentive players that can engage with those sort of things in a curious and fun way, and not being alarmed. It's not happening to frighten you, but to really embolden and empower you into your own sovereign power here, and your own sovereign becoming and knowledge of what you really are capable of, and how much infinite potential really does exist within this reality and within yourself as well. So knowing it's opening doors for you here in that way, so having wonder with it in that aspect, really seeing all the potentials that could lead to for yourself and your journey. All right, and then we have integration, embodiment, grounding, wholeness, inner harmony, assimilation, making sense. Don't rush it, let it land. Let what you've learned settle into the body. Integration turns insight into wisdom. Understanding deepens through patience. Allow the pieces to come together in their own time. You are becoming coherent. A great card to come out after this reality glitch as well, and with this sort of inner union, outer union type journey we were talking about earlier. Not only are you coming into this inner harmony and really integrating and assimilating all this knowledge and energies in a way that you're coming into union with yourself and possibly with another person, but also with any reality glitch type experiences you may perceive, not rushing to let it land, allowing that to settle into your body, and allowing the integration to turn that insight into wisdom for you. You may not quite understand right away what that glitch meant, or what was occurring, or what that means for you, but allowing yourself to just ground the energy, being calm and patient with it, and knowing that sometimes the insight trickles through later as you become more coherent. Allowing all those sort of pieces of the puzzle to come together within in divine timing, not needing to understand or make sense of it all in the moment as the glitch is happening, or immediately afterwards, and knowing that can take time to really integrate and come through for yourself. Alright, and then we have Horus. So higher perspective, sovereign clarity, power, visionary, sky-minded focus, empowering. And so Horus, particularly as well being the only sort of there's the Morrigan as well, but more that ascended master type energy coming through here as well, might be an energy that you do work with, or is calling you to work with, if that resonates for you at all, especially because in the last reading I just did, where we were talking about some union energy a little bit, Hathor did come out as well, and I think Horus coming through as well kind of really ties into that sort of Hathor Horus energy as well, which is a great little synchronicity. And then we've got rise above the noise to see what truly matters. The eyes see not to judge, but to restore balance. Clarity comes when you stop circling the wound, and leadership begins with self-alignment. Before with the sort of Morrigan energy, kind of the death of the false, and releasing what doesn't align and allowing it to fall away, I feel like comes through really greatly as well with the idea of rising above the noise to see what truly matters for yourself. And knowing that, the eyes see not to judge, but to restore balance. So doing so in a way that, is bringing about balance for yourself. You're not doing so to judge anything or any energies, but to just find greater alignment for yourself and the reality around you. And with the last line here as well, you know, I feel like the energy has been saying that you are coming into self-alignment. And so I feel like, you know, as part of that, you know, you're being called into more of a leadership role here. So to not be afraid to step more into, you know, that sovereign becoming, that sovereign power that you hold, to take on more of that leadership type energy as that resonates for you. You know, with the eye of Horus, you know, and that sort of eagle type higher perspective view, really allowing yourself to have that sky-minded visionary focus in a way that allows you to be empowered with sovereign clarity. You know, not being afraid to see the truth from those new perspectives, and to allow that balance to be restored within yourself and the reality around you, being aligned to what truly matters for you. You know, again, with that sort of real sovereign power here that was talked about, you know, in the Morrigan energy type card. You know, the Horus card is another really strong sovereign power type energy. So again, you know, not feeling like such a union or what have you means that any of your sovereign power needs to be stripped away at all. Instead, it should be being empowered and emboldened even more so that you can become, you know, a really strong, great leader in whatever sense that works for you and for your life. It doesn't have to be on a grand scale at all, even just taking on that sort of, you know, leadership empowerment and role within your own life and reality. But knowing that sovereign power and becoming is such an important aspect of your journey. And, you know, it's not just about losing yourself in a relationship, but finding more of yourself and allowing that to empower you in, you know, beautiful and miraculous ways. Then we have Mother Earth, nourishment, great mother, grounding, cycles, home, fertility, deep belonging, sustenance. Trust natural timing. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to belong. You are held even when you forget. You don't have to earn your place here. Growth happens in seasons, not demands. What you need is already beneath your feet. Stability is a living force. You know, a great card to come out along with that integration energy here as well. You know, really trusting the natural timing of things, allowing that integration to occur, you know, that embodiment and inner harmony sort of, you know, journey as you're assimilating all this sort of knowledge and energies, really trusting the natural timing of those things and knowing that you are allowed to rest. You already belong. You know, you don't need to rush anything in this sort of process. You can allow the growth to unfold as it's naturally meant to, and allow certain things to align as they are naturally meant to. You knowing that you already have everything you need, so not feeling like you need to really fight or strive for things in such a way that it, you know, becomes more of a control aspect, or coming from a place of lack, and just relaxing into the present moment more, of knowing that, you know, everything's unfolding in divine timing, and everything will, you know, the pieces will come together and make more sense and such as they are meant to, and will come through with more clarity in that divine timing, and even more so when you're allowing yourself to rest and integrate those energies. And, you know, especially as well with any sort of reality glitch type moments, or coming into a union or what have you with a twin flame or divine counterpart here, knowing as well that, you know, sometimes those sort of, journeys or aspects or experiences can be, a little destabilizing or what have you, in the sense of just being a little glitchy in some aspects. So still knowing that this Mother Earth energy is surrounding you and beneath your feet always, as that sort of stable, constant grounding force. It is the one constant that is supporting and cradling you the whole time along your journey. And so just grounding yourself into nature and with nature as you need, and knowing that that loving divine energy of the Mother Earth is supporting you and with you always. You're really allowing yourself to ground into the energy of the earth, knowing that it is your home. And as you come into, more union with yourself or union with another person as well, knowing that you're also, coming into greater connection with the energies of the earth as well, as that sort of, connected home base for yourself, allowing those energies to flow through you and through the earth in a beautiful, unionized, harmonious type of relationship and energetic connection that allows that sort of, sovereign becoming through an inner union journey to be, more magnetized with the beautiful, powerful energy of the Mother Earth as well. Not only, in that sort of holy Trinity aspect we were talking about before, coming into connection of that source God energy through two people in a relationship, but knowing you're also having, a similar sort of aspect with connecting to the energy of the earth as well, allowing that to be, connected and empowered through you as well, to really bring about this sort of, whole unionized, harmonious connection and relationship here between yourself, the earth, God source, and, another being possibly as well, in a way that's unionizing all of these energies into that wonderful aspect of oneness in a powerful, sovereign way, not in a way that you're losing yourself, but finding more of yourself and becoming more emboldened and sovereign in that sort of powerful way through such a transformation and through such a union. And then the final card, Andromedan. So you may be an Andromedan starseed, or have Andromedan like guides or what have you, however that may resonate or call to you. It could be a little sign or synchronicity, or just just a great energy in general to work with. So we have freedom, sovereignty, rebel, timeline jumping, multidimensional. Craving freedom from constraints, feeling not from here, deeply intuitive, very sensitive to frequency shifts, soul retrieval, timeline hopping, wild new perspectives, or the need to break out of spiritual dogma. So a very powerful card to come out here at the end and resonant for the rest of the reading. And feeling not from here as well is not only specific to Andromedan starseeds, although it does come through quite more strongly and prominent for Andromedan starseeds. But if you aren't an Andromedan starseed, that feeling or energy could still be coming through for you, just as a sign to say that you are a starseed in a sense, or however you like to look at it or define it, but that you may be being called to connect more with the energy of the star systems that you do originate from, or have spent some time in, or that your soul has grown and expanded within. Really getting more in touch with those multi-dimensional aspects of yourself. And with the, reality glitch card here as well, there might be some timeline jumping that, occurs or pops up for you. So again, to, not be bewildered in any negative sense by such experiences, and to, just be, excited and enthralled by the wonder and the magic of such experiences. So if you do kind of, notice any sort of funny little Mandela effects, or things just seeming a little slightly different or out of place or what have you, knowing that it can all be signs of some little timeline jumping here that kind of resonates with those reality glitches, and that can occur as you're kind of expanding your energy and consciousness, may align you in a more dramatic sense to another timeline that gives that sort of dramatic timeline jumping feel, as you kind of align with that sort of energy within and without. And with such frequency shifts occurring at the moment for yourself and around the planet, you may be feeling a little extra sensitive to these sort of shifts at this time, or will be as you kind of go through this journey a little more. So not being alarmed by that at all, just knowing that you have that sort of very powerful and sensitive energy in that aspect, to not only notice such frequency shifts, but to also be aligned to even greater and bigger frequency shifts than, say, just the average general person may be. So not being alarmed by that at all. And with the craving freedom from constraints, and the need to break out of spiritual dogma here, maybe, especially with the sort of energies of the Morrigan and Horus coming through, very strong and powerful sovereign leader type energies, of, having a bit of that sort of, rebel energy in a way, or being, your own leader here, and the leading force in your own life. You may be feeling called to break away from more traditional ideas of sort of spiritual avenues, or what have you. Sometimes, there's certain ideas or ways of doing things that can be more, popularized, or just more commonly, discussed or agreed upon, or what have you. But then, sometimes some of that can become a little bit like spiritual dogma, or, can become almost, a little suffocating or encompassing if that doesn't align to you. And knowing that you don't have to follow the rules per se, you're allowed to follow what feels right for you and what aligns for you, and you're allowed to act on that and speak on that and feel empowered to do so. You are allowed to step into that sovereign energy in that way, where you don't have to exactly follow all the rules or the teachings or the beliefs or what have you of anyone else or any other groups or what have you, or anything in any traditional sense. Even though those things can be great and wonderful and should always be, respected and all that sort of stuff, of course, but you still are always allowed to follow, the call and the whispers of your own soul and your own inner knowing, and not being afraid to do so. You can have that freedom from those constraints in that way, to do life your way and to follow your own beliefs, and to carve your own path as a sovereign leader. You don't have to be a leader of your life or those around you with an inherited rule book. You can, create your own pathway in that way. Especially, being connected to, any sort of different, star systems and, starseed type aspects, or going through soul retrieval at all, connecting to past life knowledge and that sort of ancient wisdom that you may hold within yourself, and your soul may not align with current ideas or or traditions or what have you, and that doesn't mean that it's wrong or false. It could in fact be coming from an even more ancient place than those, current teachings. So not being afraid to follow that, and not dismissing your own inner knowing and what feels right for you in that way, because there's so much infinite knowledge and and knowings in that way that can be tapped into, and can also be created as well. It doesn't have to be ancient either to be powerful, or to be correct, or to be true, or to be aligned for you or for reality as well. And so any wild new perspectives that you might obtain, especially with the Horus card here encouraging you to have that higher perspective, any sort of new perspectives that you may find, or receive, or see for yourself through your own journey, not being afraid to share those new perspectives, or to really step into or stand by those new perspectives, as wild as they may seem. You are here to be, a sovereign leader, in a sense of bringing in these new energies, bringing in these new perspectives, these new way of doing things, these new way of, interacting with the reality around us, and new ways of, fortifying and creating reality in those ways. It's meant to be new things coming in that way, to change the reality we are experiencing, rather than just following the current status quo and everything kind of staying much the same. It may be part of your soul's journey here, and soul's mission, to bring in those wild new perspectives and new ways of seeing things and doing things, that really brings about so much wonderful and magical change, not only in your own life, but the lives of those around you, and the reality of Mother Earth itself. Which I feel like Mother Earth is here encouraging you to do so as well, so that Mother Earth can ascend to higher realms and states of being, and experiencing those expanded states of consciousness, and connecting back more with other star systems, and consciousness from other star systems and planets. The Mother Earth wants to rise, and wants to ascend, and wants to continue to evolve and grow and form in that way. And so you're encouraged by Mother Earth here as well, to bring in those new perspectives, and to ground them into the earth and into your reality, so that they can be integrated into the reality of Earth itself as well. So don't feel like you're doing anything wrong for doing so, or that anything is too wild of a new perspective, or that having such a new perspective, if it's so different to the way things are currently done, that it means it's wrong or should be disregarded, but instead seeing it as a powerful pathway into creating new wonderful realities here for all the beings on Earth to experience and delve into. Which is a wonderful sort of mission to have, to really bring about so much impactful and powerful and magical change here, not only for your own life, but for the planet as a whole. And particularly as well, if you do resonate as well, with a sort of twin flame divine counterpart journey here, that may, also be a part of your mission with your twin flame or with your divine counterpart, to coming into union with a person, so that those energies can be, magnetized and be emboldened even further. Coming into that union, with source, with the earth, and with another being, so that you can, both grow into wonderful, sovereign, powerful beings together to bring about this wonderful change that is occurring on the earth at this time, and that will be occurring more so into the future. That may be a joint soul mission that you have to work together in a, really powerful partnership to bring this about for the planet. And just as we were saying before, coming in to such a union isn't meant to be stripping away your power at all or your sovereignty, but you're able to work together in such a beautiful and powerful way that really enhances each of your own sort of powerful sovereign aspects to become even more enhanced and magnetized and emboldened in such a powerful, magical way. That real sort of holy Trinity aspect of those divine feminine and divine masculine energies being able to work in a way that is, allows so much more powerful change to occur in your reality and for the planet itself as well. Kind of like those puzzle pieces we're talking about before, settling and integrating. You can almost see it in that sense as well, almost like two beings being two puzzle pieces in that way as well, that can kind of, come together to create an even more powerful sort of picture and outcome here, both bringing their own strengths and their own perspectives that when joined together really sort of, blossom and explode and evolve into so much more, powerful perspectives and magic and knowing that's able to, integrate together into such a powerful union in a way that's able to manifest into the reality and the consciousness of this planet, to really expand all the possibilities of the reality we do experience here on the earth. And not being afraid to do so, knowing that you can bring about so much wonderful change by doing so for not only yourself but for the planet itself, which is so beautiful and magical. And that the Mother Earth clearly desires and wants here, and it's like yes let's evolve and ascend this reality, into a greater, more wonderful, magical experience here for all the beings on the planet. And really connecting back with the power of the universe and other planetary star systems as well. So, a really, really strong and powerful message coming here through for you. So if this does resonate, which, I hope it does, because we absolutely, need more of this energy and more of this, sovereign, powerful leaders, stepping into place to bring about the new earth in that wonderful way, but also, bringing in and integrating all this sort of, energy and downloads in able to, really enhance the reality of earth, to really, transform this reality that we all delve and experience here. The earth is ready, humanity is ready for these sort of powerful transformations to occur. And so don't dismiss that you are part of, that becoming and that transformation. Just like a wonderful big jigsaw puzzle, we all have a piece and a part to play in bringing it all together. So feeling empowered by that, and knowing that you are here for a reason, to do what you came to do as part of this sort of collective journey for humanity and Mother Earth at this time. So very, very, very exciting times, and exciting and powerful message here. So really trust and align into that inner knowing that you have for yourself, that you feel for yourself as this message resonates for you. knowing that you're receiving, those downloads and feeling that inner knowing, and having those experiences for a reason, and feeling empowered and emboldened by that. You are very multidimensional, and so not forgetting that, and allowing yourself to blossom into the powerful sovereign being that you are, knowing that it doesn't only do so much wonderful things for yourself and your own reality, but really assists the ascension of Mother Earth and the whole collective consciousness of the planet at this time as well, which is so beautiful and a wonderful and magical thing to be part of. Alright, well, I'll leave this message here for now, but wishing you all the absolute best on your journey, sending you so much peace, love, light, and blessings as always. Bye.